Have you ever met anyone who went to school and acquired a bunch of book knowledge and then went out into the real world and wasn't quite sure how to apply what they had learned? This is the problem Opus Omni is designed to solve. Opus Omni translates book knowledge into lived experience so people perform education, work, and health management tasks better. Key to this? Teachers. Teachers are on an extraordinary journey, evolving from a trade or guild-like job towards recognition as a bona fide profession, one that is respected and self-regulating. Teachers want to be more respected in America, like they are in countries that are leading the international rankings for science and math. Teachers get there by evolving as a self-regulated profession. Self-regulated professions develop certain indicia over time. Indicia like competency skills, ethical behaviors, national board certification, state licensure, peer review, quality services distinctive to the profession, adequate education through accredited academic programs, continuing education requirements, disciplinary action against members who violate its code, due process in disciplinary action hearings, the creation of knowledge, theory, and practices unique to the profession, advancing the public interest, and serving the public good. The following professions are somewhere along the continuum of being a bona fide profession that serves the public good: doctors, lawyers, engineers, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech-language pathologists, nurses, pharmacists, dietitians, nurse practitioners, optometrists, dentists, accountants, aromatherapists, graphic designers, teachers, MBAs, anthropologists, and others. For example, nationwide, only about 4% of teachers have passed their boards, as compared to about 85% of doctors who have passed their boards. Self-regulated professions serve the public good. In return, they are afforded public trust and the privilege of continued self-regulation and other responsibilities, which include ensuring minimal competency skills and ethical behaviors to practice. The Missouri legislature has helped educators make a move towards self-regulation by enumerating competency skills and ethical behaviors for teachers. Teachers in the Department of Education have an extraordinary opportunity to propel this emerging profession forward. Teachers should be assessed, in part, based upon their continual development and acquisition of competency skills and ethical behaviors, instead of focusing on students' standardized test scores. As a professional, a physical therapist doesn't risk losing his job if his patients don't improve on their standardized balance tests. One can well imagine that a physical therapist who treats patients with total knee replacements at an outpatient clinic, where the patients are younger, more active, and have fewer chronic comorbidities, may have better outcomes when compared against a physical therapist with similar competency skills who treats patients with total knee replacements at a nursing home where the patients are older, less active, and have more chronic comorbidities. What if we fired the equally competent physical therapist who chose to work with the at-risk senior because his outcomes were worse? Should we really fire teachers who have worse outcomes with at-risk kids? These kids have educational comorbidities of sorts and likely need additional services and support to succeed. As a professional, an accountant doesn't risk losing his job if he performs an external independent audit and finds federal regulatory violations under SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley amendments. Rather, it's part of his job to identify instances where big corporations fall short of meeting certain standards designed to protect the public good. Then a team of internal accountants at the corporation implement a plan of correction to target continuous quality improvement. Similarly, there must be external monitoring of public schools, ideally by teachers, along with teachers inside the school districts, serving as part of the solution of implementing quality improvement. Instead, teachers today are being alienated by the federal government, big corporations, and wealthy not-for-profits. And as a professional, a doctor doesn't risk losing her job if her patient with multiple chronic comorbidities gets sick again and ends up back in the hospital. Managed care insurers tried to fire doctors essentially by starring doctors and proposing that doctors whose patients cost the healthcare system more or don't get as well be excluded as providers. This approach proved to be too blunt an instrument. As it turns out, some of the best doctors care for the sickest patients whom happen to cost more to care for. Similarly, we want the most effective teachers teaching the kids who face the greatest hurdles, and we want to give them the training and resources to keep them there. What about children in public schools across America who are now waiting for their teachers to be Superman? For most of us, we don't really expect our physical therapist, our accountant, or doctor to be Superman. What do we expect? We expect them to be competent and ethical, to do their very best for us. This is serving the public good. The public should expect teachers, as an emerging profession, to be competent and ethical, and to do their very best to serve the students' interests, to receive an excellent public education. This is how they do it. This is how teachers transform themselves into a respected, self-regulating profession. So, for professional learners, including teachers, it starts with Purple Forest. Professional learners do 3 simple things every week. Learners set, save, and share. Learners set competency-based goals. Learners save a performance record. And learners share their experiences activities in a closed-universe chat room with similar learners. Professional learners log on to Opus Omni and click on Purple Forest. So, a teacher, Michelle, clicks on Set to set her competency goals for the week. Michelle is asked, "What competency skill would you like to work on?" She scrolls through the list and chooses using a variety of instructional strategies to encourage learners' critical thinking skills. Michelle is asked, "How will you think about or perform the skill?" She scrolls through the list and selects Apply strategies based upon others' experience in solving problems. Next, Michelle is asked, "What tools, media, activities, or curricula will you use to learn the skill?" She scrolls through the list and thinks activities including cooperative learning looks interesting, so she clicks on a link of the description to learn more about cooperative learning and thinks it will help, so she chooses it. Michelle is then asked, "How will you measure your achievement?" She chooses correctly 5 times out of 10. Michelle is then asked, "What is motivating you?" And she knows, "I want to master it." Voila! Michelle has set her professional goal. I, Michelle, will apply strategies based upon others' experience in solving problems using a variety of instructional strategies to encourage learners' critical thinking skills correctly 5 times out of 10 using activities including cooperative learning because I want to master it. Typically, Michelle will repeat this process to ensure she has 2 to 3 active professional goals every week. As goals are met, she sets new goals. Michelle moves quickly to save her performance record. Michelle is asked to update her goals. She can click on the drop-down menus and update the status of her goals. She can also attach artifacts about her cooperative learning activities and attach photos and comments by peers, parents, and students about her performance. Now Michelle writes her Shine Note, a structured narrative designed to elicit different areas of cognitive functioning to stimulate learning, including salient impressions, happenings, introspection, next steps, and empowerment. At the halfway mark and end of her semester, Michelle is asked to score her assessment. Michelle and her mentors and peers are all asked to score how she actually performed in an authentic environment for all competency skills and ethical behaviors across the curriculum that she teaches. Michelle's mentor and peers can provide specific feedback about her actual performance in the classroom over the course of the whole year, not just how her students performed on a standardized test, on a few subjects administered over a few days. Learners are scored using a proprietary scoring rubric that is being developed specifically for Purple Forest, rooted in a body of evidence about occupational performance which holds strong promise for statistical reliability and validity. Michelle's first goal reads, I, Michelle, will apply strategies based upon others' experience in solving problems using a variety of instructional strategies to encourage learners' critical thinking skills correctly 5 times out of 10 using activities including cooperative learning because I want to master it. The learner, Michelle, scored herself a 2. The mentor scored her at a 2, and her peer scored her a 2. Michelle's next goal reads, I, Michelle, will evaluate relationships and information to create learning experiences that make the tools of inquiry of the subject matter meaningful for learners with minimal assistance through Journal Club because it interests me. The learner scored herself a 3, the mentor scored her 3, and her peer scored her a 3. Michelle, her mentor, and peers continue to score her assessment. Her next goal states, I, Michelle, will exchange ideas while recognizing the perspectives of others to provide learning opportunities that support social development of all learners 75% of the time through didactic learning sessions because I want to make a difference. Here, Michelle scored herself a 2. The mentor scored her at a 3, and her peer also a 3. Michelle may have scored herself lower than her mentor and peer because she lacks the self-efficacy or self-confidence to accurately perceive that her actual competence is higher than she perceives. During her assessment, Michelle has open dialogue and receives specific feedback about experiences where her mentor and peer observed her demonstrating the skill, which can be attached as artifacts. For her next goal, I, Michelle, will develop strategies based upon the ways others have prevented problems by modeling effective nonverbal communication techniques with learners to foster collaboration in the classroom 50% of the time through media, including diversity and sensitivity training because I want to succeed. Here, Michelle scores herself a 4, her mentor 3, and her peer 4. Some variance in scores is to be expected. The proprietary scoring rubric that is being developed holds good promise for identifying statistical outliers and ferreting out inequitable treatment. Her final goal reads, I, Michelle, will develop questions to initiate research to understand group behavior, to create a learning environment that encourages active engagement in learning independently using tools including online journals, databases, and the internet because I am curious. As the learner, Michelle scores herself 4. Her mentor scores her 4, and her peer scores her a 1. Here, during the feedback session, it becomes clear that Michelle's peer had not had an opportunity to learn about all the hard work that Michelle has done to research understanding group behavior until Michelle presents presents some of the artifacts she had researched, but had not attached as artifacts to her assessment. Michelle's peer now believes, based on this evidence, that she demonstrates a level 4 and is allowed to change her score and make a notation for the basis of why she changed it. Michelle is encouraged to add these artifacts as supporting evidence for her level of competence. Meanwhile, Michelle's mentor encourages her to share her research findings by developing a self-directed learning module through translational education multimedia that can be shared with other teachers and earn supplemental income for Michelle. Now Michelle shares her experiences in a safe, closed universe chat room with similar teachers. She clicks on Wolves at the Door to read about another teacher who is worried about what she perceives as a racial bias against minority teachers. Michelle offers a comment of support and some advice about how to stay calm. Next, Michelle clicks on My Freshwater Stream and shares a story about how she held a reggae regatta and asked all of her students to apply everything they had learned in science, math, history, and literature to Don't Worry, Be Happy and build the best seaworthy sailboat that they could as a team to win the annual reggae regatta competition. Just then, that overnight travel bag, Evilise, pops onto her screen, and a teacher from the Bronx tells her that she just held her own reggae regatta after reading Michelle's Evilise description, photos, and YouTube video of last year's event. Her students loved it too. She encourages Michelle to formalize her lesson plan/project and sell it as an app through Translational Education Multimedia. So Michelle goes back to Opus Omni and clicks on Translational Education Multimedia and begins to learn how to create scalable, repeatable, disseminable education curricula and how to supplement her income doing what she loves and what she excels at. Meanwhile, her new friend Letitia from the Bronx is a bit more reserved and intellectual. She wants to understand how learning occurs and how skilled performance is accomplished by students participating in the Reggae Regatta. So Letitia collaborates with Michelle and others in her district to secure a research grant with help from Teach Compass in writing the grant application. Together, they collaborate and explore under Plato's Folly how experiential blended curricula, cross-cutting multiple subjects, actually stimulates higher-level logic, reasoning, and creativity, not to mention teamwork and collaboration. And together, they collaborate on a separately funded study to begin to peel back the layers of diversity and disparity issues in education under Goal Wizard after their project has become a statewide initiative. Teachers are now central to the community of leading meaningful change and innovation in teaching. It's Plato's Folly. This is how we do it. Just then, Michelle gets a text from that crazy little frog 2B bouncing on her screen. Amy, a high school sophomore, wants to shadow Michelle for the day and learn about teaching. And Letitia also gets an email from that crazy little frog. It comes from a young man named Nathan who wants to learn more about the program where Letitia received her teaching degree. This is how we start to evolve great public education. Improving teacher effectiveness through teachers gaining competency skills to practice is the path to improving learning for our children. This is how teachers transform themselves into a well-respected, self-regulating profession. And it all begins in a purple forest with Set, Save, Share. Opus Omni is knowledge in your pocket. Experience where you are.